Hey everyone, it's Michaela and you're watching FunsizedStyle. Today's video is a bit of a downer. Not really a downer, just thinking of sharing my circumstances of an update that you guys have been asking for. And I tried to do a little bit on Instagram, but that's my other main platform. This situation has been so complicated and so long and drawn out that it's just difficult for people to understand like where I'm at now. So I figured I would sit here and film a video about it, even though there's really not much more of an update to film or to share. As you can tell by the title, today I'm sharing a bit of a spinal fusion recovery post-op update. You guys know as grateful as I am for this miracle that I received and continue to receive every day through getting to live it every day. It's been a challenge, and I honestly didn't even expect to film an 18-month post-op recovery update, because honestly I don't even like the word recovery anymore in relation to this, but I don't know how else to describe it for people to understand my spinal fusion journey. I think a lot of people, especially in my personal life, because I don't talk about it, they think that I'm doing great from my fusion, and I am. I really, really am. Obviously, we expected me to come out with a tracheostomy. That didn't happen. And so it's weird for me to sit here and share. There's still an aspect of it unsolved or difficult, because in hindsight, I am living in the moment that I prayed for the past 2 years. I prayed that I would come out of this surgery without a tracheostomy, and I did, and God answered that prayer, and beyond everyone's comprehension of how that was possible, and that was made possible because God is bigger than my scoliosis, and my scoliosis is big. It's weird for me to sit here and share that 18 months later, and oh my gosh, it is so hard to believe that my spinal surgeries were 18 months ago. It really still feels like 6 months ago. Ever since that time, I've just been coasting. Crazy to me how much time has passed, because of the fact that there's still aspects of this that are still really hard, that I continue to deal with every single day, that remain unanswered and solved, I guess. I don't know. And so it's really hard for me to share this, because like I said, I'm living in the moment. I'm experiencing the moment that I prayed for the past 2 years of, having this spinal surgery and the outcome that I wanted. And I'm like so beyond grateful for that. And I think because I didn't end up with the worst case scenario of what we expected me to come out of this surgery with, I feel like I don't a place, and I don't feel like I should quote lay something is hard for this, because it's not hard in comparison to what we expected my new life, my post-spinal fusion life to potentially look like. And so I feel like I don't have a right or a place to quote, like, describe aspects of this as still being hard. Because I did, a lot of people come to my channel and they comment like, oh my gosh, I feel like I don't have a right to complain about my circumstances when I look at all that you have to deal with. But then I'm the one that's constantly reminding you guys, just because my circumstances are hard doesn't mean that yours is more or less difficult. Like, we only know what we know, and we only experience what we experience and what it feels like to us going through it. I need to be reminded of that when I'm sharing about this. It's hard because I want to be transparent, and everything is like, honestly, it is really great, and I am able to do everything that I was able to do post-fusion despite this pain, this unanswered pain, and the challenges that go along with that. It's a really odd type of pain. It's not like bone pain. I'll get into that, but it's not like bone pain or muscle pain, so it doesn't hold me back from doing my day-to-day. But it's really odd because what I feel is like so obvious and so present that it just feels like this constant reminder of that surgery. And obviously, like, this surgery was like the biggest part of my life and one of the biggest chapters of my life, and now I always talk about it because it was good, it was amazing, and it was an incredible experience despite the hardship. It's a reminder to me that like I'm not, I think, physically feel the way that people think I do, if that makes sense. I'm smiling, I'm doing everything, like I'm telling you, it literally does not hold me back. It's a really odd type of pain, like again, not bone pain, not muscle pain, so it doesn't hold me back. I'm doing what I have to do, and honestly, I just push through because life goes on and I want to keep living and experiencing life. But I know that this has been something that's still unsolved, and a lot of you wanted to know if there is an update or if things have changed, and so I wanted to share that with you. Know that this is really hard for me to share because of like what I mentioned. I didn't have the worst case scenario, and so it's really hard, like realize the blessing that I have, this miracle. But I don't even think I could comprehend how more difficult my life could be. It's just a miracle at where I'm at. For those of you that are newer here or don't really know what I'm talking about, obviously you have a lot of catching up to do, but I'll give you like the quickest rundown ever. Obviously there's more nooks and crannies, like you need to check out my scoliosis playlist. 2 spinal surgeries, one in the last week of December 2020, and then a week later in January 2021. I almost said 22, but 21. So it has been 18 months since these surgeries, and it has been a road. Overall, grand scheme of things, I have really honestly recovered beautifully. My team is amazing. But ever since about April 2021 is when I started to feel just something not right with one of the screws. I had a full spinal fusion, T1 through L5. I have 2 rods and 16 screws in my back, I think. Yeah. No. 18 screws? 16 screws in my back. No, because I remember that the hardware pieces adding up to 20. So I don't know. I have about 16 to 20, we'll say that. 16 to 20 pieces of hardware in my spine, most of them being screws because there's 2 rods and then however many screws. So in April 2021, I started to feel something not right with one of the screws on my right side. It's literally one specific screw, like I know exactly what one it is, and it just never felt right, and I thought for sure that it had migrated out of the bone. So I've had a bunch of imaging since then, and like it hasn't shown up, but it's really weird because as the months, and honestly years at this point, I'm over a year now, which is so crazy, gone by, it's progressively felt like it's moving, like the single screw is moving more and more. And it's really weird because, like I said, I have so many pieces of hardware in my spine. The rest of it feels fine. Like if this one screw didn't hurt, like I would literally be pain-free, which is like crazy to me that like one screw could cause a person so much pain. But in discomfort, like it's more of a discomfort, but like it's also pain depending on how I move. It's really weird. Anyway, so I've had like so much imaging. I did it again. I had a CT scan that time. They didn't find anything. June of last year, too, they did a CT scan. Couldn't find anything. More imaging, they didn't find anything. But it's also really discouraging because the way that I'm positioned on, like for the x-ray in this like scoliosis chair that they have, like, it doesn't hurt when I'm in the way that they, because I have to put my arm up on this bar and like, I don't know, it's kind of weird. But the way that I'm in that chair, like I'm not in the position where I feel the screw like move. So I know that they're not getting an accurate representation of what I feel from those x-rays, and so same with the CT scan, so it's really, really discouraging. So as of like 2 weeks ago, I had another set of x-rays because it's still not right. And like sitting here, I'm not in pain. The minute I go to move my right arm, I can always feel that screw maneuvering when I move my right arm, and like it's weird. Like I say, it's literally only one screw out of like the 16 to 18 screws that I have in my spine. Like I can pinpoint to you which one it is. And able to feel it more and more, I thought for sure that at this point it has to show up in the image. But again, as of 2 weeks ago, it didn't, and the x-ray report showed that everything was fine. There's literally nothing that they can do for me. I know that this screw isn't right, and it just hasn't been since April of 2021. It's really weird because I think it would be different if like it kind of like plateaued or whatever, but like as the months and year go by, like I can feel the screw moving more and more. So every night I pray, like I pray to God that He will pop that screw out, that He will literally make it stick out of me at some point, just so that it's obvious and that I can get this fixed, because there's nothing they can do for me, because I don't want like pain management at this point, because it's not the kind of pain where like feels like something's broken. It's not like muscle pain. It's a really weird kind of pain. Like I say, it's more of like, most of the time it's a discomfort, but depending on how I twist or turn, it's definitely a sharp pain. It's very like a specific kind of pain, but it's also very difficult to describe because it's so unique coming from that one screw. Again, if it weren't for that one screw, I would literally have no pain. Like all my other screws and rods in my spine feel 100% fine and stable and tight and good, right where they're supposed to be. But again, every time I move my right arm, I feel that screw. It's just very discouraging. But I am really grateful because my team like doesn't make me feel like it's in my head. Like they know my pain is real and they know that I know my body best, because throughout my years of my life, I've had some medical mysteries. Like that's how my hearing loss got to the point that it's at, and that I need a hearing device that I'm wearing. But I would say I feel like even my like hearing was easier to figure out after all those years, finally, once I, but this is just a matter of how can we see that screw. I've gotten questions of like, can they do exploratory surgery? Can they go in and remove that single screw? And until they can get an accurate picture of that screw, no, they can't. Because I tried to put this into words, but you guys don't understand like how extremely dangerous and risky this surgery is. And for me, spinal surgery, in my respiratory circumstances, how long I would need to be under anesthesia. And in order to fix the one screw, they would have to take the hardware out and put it back in. So it's like a completely, it's not just, they can't just take that single screw out and like shorten it or move it. They have to take all the hardware out to be able to safely get to that screw so that they don't paralyze me, put it all back in. So it's a huge ordeal. It's basically doing it over again in a sense, even though my spine itself is already fused. Just a removal of every piece of hardware, again, putting it back in. So the thing is that we can just do willy-nilly, and every time you have surgery near the spinal cord, there is a risk of becoming paralyzed. And so again, it's not something that you can do, that they'll just do willy-nilly, because when you're making a medical decision, everything is risks versus benefit, and they could go in there and it is in place and whatever, I don't know, but and everything's quote fine. But in this sense, it's not to the point where benefits outweigh the risks at this point. Now, like let's say in a few months, something really crazy happens, like oh my gosh, I can feel the screw up my skin, or like oh my gosh, the imaging shows, I get more imaging or something and it shows that it's out, like 100% they will do surgery to fix it, because at that point obviously I have a screw sticking out of a bone in my spine, and that's not safe at that point once the imaging does show that it's out, like completely out of the bone. And right now it is not. And right now it doesn't mean that it's not, it's just, it could be, again, what I think is happening is it's positional. If my arm is like a certain way when they do the x-ray, like they're not going to be able to see what it looks like when I twist to the left or twist to the right. But if the time ever comes and a miracle happens and it finally comes all the way, what I think right now is happening is it's happening so slowly. Where the specific screw is because is why I'm able to feel move so much. Yeah, they can't do exploratory surgery or just go in and like shorten that screw. It's just not a safe option. But again, if it ever comes completely out, they will do the surgery 100%, no questions, because at that point they know that there is something that they have the potential can fix and potentially free me of this pain, because they can physically see what is wrong. And right now they can't see that, so the risks don't outweigh the benefits, but it is more easily seen. They have something to go in and fix, and they can and will do that. It's honestly just a waiting game, and again, as I felt it get moved more and more, I thought like now, like every time I go in for x-rays, it's like, okay, I think this is gonna be the time. Like I've had a few people ask me if I regret having the surgery, because as you'll know, surprisingly, as severe as my scoliosis was and still is, prior to surgery, I never had back pain in my life. Some discomfort, but never like pain. So now that I have pain every day from the single screw, I've been asked like, is it still worth it? Yes. And I know it sounds crazy, but despite this hardware pain from this single screw, it's crazy. Out of the 18 screws in my spine, there is one that is wreaking havoc on my life. I still don't regret it. My scoliosis is stable and it stopped the progression of it. I still have a curve of like 100 degrees, but it was previously at 180. So I think and it's given me more lung capacity. It's given my organs more room to function and breathe and function, and for my body to keep going. I did this to make sure that I'm around for a long time, and my organs were at risk, and now they're not at risk the way that they were. And so I don't regret having the surgery. I would do it again and again. Hopefully at some point I will be able to do it again. And it sounds horrible, but like in terms of getting that screw fixed at some point, hopefully I will get to do it again, as awful as that sounds. But that is my prayer. Honestly, like, I just know, I just have this feeling that I'm meant to go through this again, and it almost sounds horrible, but I just feel in my heart that I'm meant to have, at this point in the circumstances that I feel, that I am meant to have one more spinal surgery. And I feel like that it's so weird to say, I can't describe it, but I just feel like at some point, I don't know when or how that will look like. I just don't feel like this spinal surgery journey is over as much as I want it to be. I don't know. I've never had something that's so difficult to put into words if you're not the one feeling it and experiencing it every day. And it is really odd and it's really weird. I keep pressing forward and living every day because you have to. And like, I'm grateful it's not the type of pain that is so horrendous that like, oh my gosh, I can't live my life, or like I can't get out of bed. It's like totally manageable. It's totally doable. I'm able to do literally everything and anything, so I'm grateful. Obviously, if there was a hindrance on my daily life, we would be having a totally different conversation at this point, for sure, but it's not, so I am able to keep pressing forward despite that issue with that one screw. And I will say this till I'm blue in the face, I can't believe how one piece of hardware that cabin for somebody. It's a long way of saying nothing changed. But I just want to give you extra details of like what I'm feeling and experiencing and still experiencing after 18 months. Well, I should say it's really like 12 months, because a year. Because, well, no, 14 months, because 4 months I didn't feel like everything was fine with that single screw. Like from January to April, everything was fine. It's been a road, and I didn't keep expecting to film updates and saying that I'm still struggling with recovery. That's something that I wanted part of my life. It is what it is, and because I'm so struggling, you guys know, like, I'm so grateful that I started the Michaela Daybert OI and Scoliosis Research Fund with Michigan Medicine, because it fuels me. Like, whenever I'm like really frustrated that like they can't figure out what is wrong with me, it makes me push harder to raise funds and awareness and money for this fund so that they can do research on scoliosis to figure out how to best help severe scoliosis patients like myself with osteogenesis imperfecta and all of that. And the fact that with the severity of my scoliosis that I was able to endure this so successfully, I know that medicine can advance even more. And so this fund gives me so much purpose, and I'm grateful that God has given me a platform to turn my pain into purpose with this fund and be part of the change, so that one day no one else potentially has to go through what I'm going through right now. And I feel humbled that God has given me this trial to help others, and I'm grateful. I still don't have full feeling on the part of my hand. It's come back a little bit, but a lot of times still not gone, but it's just limited. So I do have some permanent nerve damage, I think, because the 1 year mark is when that if I were to regain, I would potentially regain. But again, I am not paralyzed. I'm breathing on my own, and that I consider a blessing. But I did just want to film this update to share. 18 months later, I am still struggling and dealing with the effect of this surgery. And just know that obviously I'm just grateful that it doesn't affect my daily life. But I think a reminder of anything on social media, like, you never know what someone is going through. Like, so many people are gonna be like, wow, I didn't realize you're still struggling with that. Like, that was so long ago now. And yeah, I am. So it's just a good reminder too that you never know what someone is going through and how long they've been struggling with something. So thank you guys for supporting me and praying for me. Please pray that the screw makes an external appearance very, very soon. It is a prayer that I pray every night, that something can be resolved for this, and because that way my life can be that much better. Please pray that that piece of hardware makes an external appearance out of my body very soon. There can be an end to this way too long of a 18 months. I'm not where it should be 18 months, let's just say that. But it is, and it is what it is. So that's it. Thank you guys for watching. I know this video was super random, but I've just had some people asking for an update. Nothing too groundbreaking, but just wanted to share my headspace and kind of what's up. And yeah, so again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. I'll have a link down below where you can donate to the Michaela Daber OI and Scoliosis Research Fund with Michigan Medicine to help be part of a change and a part where I don't have to go through this, where I don't have to experience this. And through the work of that fund, I know we can make a difference. And you know, at the end of the day, I won't be able to say that I didn't try to be part of the change and make things better. At least I can say that I'm trying, and we're trying, and my team is trying as the research gets further and further. So you can be a part of that. I'll link it down below. Thank you guys so much for your prayers, for your support, and being on this journey. And I do realize scoliosis doesn't affect people normally in this way, in this severe of a way, but this is my reality, and scoliosis isn't thought of as a condition that can take total control of someone's life. Part of that, probably less than 1%. So this is reality, and I'm using my platform to share it. But thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!